Welcome to Disability Advocates and Resource Center, lighting the path to independence for all, serving Pitt, Beaufort, and Wilson counties. We are located at DARC 702A Johns Hopkins Drive, Greenville, North Carolina 27834. We can be reached at 252-355-6215 or 888-541-7227. Parenting children with learning disabilities takes several skills. The following video will cover topics that will help you navigate your way through this period in your life.
First and foremost, they are their child's best advocate, and parents are with their kids all the time. Teachers are with them for 7 hours a day, 5 days a week. They know what the teachers oftentimes know academically what the kids need to be working on. But parents know overall, and parents need to push for what they want their kids to be doing. One parent may have the goal, something simple, to use please and thank you notes, no ma'am, yes ma'am, that sort of thing. And teachers, and they say, well, they're hardly speaking. Yes, they're hardly speaking, but teachers can encourage these things, and parents need to have their voices heard and just not give up the first time teachers brush them off or don't follow through, because that's a lot of it, I think, is the follow through. Teachers have good intentions but get so busy and so caught up that don't necessarily follow through, and parents don't need to just back down. They need to keep pushing.
Take it day by day and go to a source, go to other people that you can talk to, because there's so much stuff on the internet that will just blow a parent's mind. So that's a real discouraging time, and at times it can be helpful when you're looking up a specific. We encourage them to look up the gluten-free, casein-free diet. That there's good information on the web about that. They can get their information and then ask questions about it. But as far as just typing in autism on Google, I wouldn't do it, just because it's going to scare them half to death, and they're not. They need to learn to face that child's issues as they come and not think, oh, this is what's going to happen in 6 months. My child's going to do this. They're going to, get into fecal smearing in 6 months. That child may never do that, but that parent has been living in fear for 6 months. This is what's going to happen. So we just encourage them, look, get you a support group, try to find somebody who's going through it too, but don't compare your child to another child, because it's going to be different.
Know what your rights are. Know what your child's rights are, and fight for those rights. The number one thing that I can say is fight for those rights. Don't ever give up when someone says that you're not going to be able to move further, or that your child's only going to progress to a certain point. I can't tell you how many kids that we have that somebody will say, well, you know what, little Johnny's only going to, he's not going to be able to progress past a certain grade level or whatever, and they've surpassed that. They have graduated high school, they have moved on, they might be in a pre-college program or something like that. So don't ever let anyone say that, no, you're not going to be able to move on any further. But your rights are probably the most important thing.
Be as loud as you can be, because no one is a better advocate but you and your child. And these individuals need to know their rights. We explain our rights to our individuals here and let them know this is what you're allowed. Just like everybody else in the state, you're allowed these rights. You can have these rights, and you need to know these rights. And if you want to express your opinion, you have the right to express your opinion. You have the right to go after any goal that you want to go after. And you have the right to have individuals help you discover the steps to reach that goal. And just advocating for yourself, just to hear no one time, don't stop. Just because they're going to hear no. They're going to hear you can't do it. Keep going.
Don't expect them to climb that mountain the first try, and don't ever give up on them. Find different avenues, different ways. Every child, whether they have special needs or not, learns a different way. Just because the way that you want them to learn doesn't work, don't just give up and go, okay, well, we'll just move on to something else. Find something different. Find another way. Find another avenue. Talk to somebody else who's done it a certain way and it worked, or because I don't learn the same way as you, and
You know, my child with special needs is not going to learn the same way as another child with special needs. And the special needs title, I think is is a hindrance, you know, because when you hear the special needs, oh, well, shucks, now we can't do that. You know, that's not true. I mean, lots of ways you know, you can do lots of things with a child with special needs, just like you can do with a child with no special needs. It's just learning which path to take and how to get there.
Well, if they get started in the community early, that's a definite benefit. But doing, I guess, finding support groups and getting into the community, such as sports. I would love to see a more mixed sports in this area. I mean, yes, we have special needs baseball in the area and special needs soccer, but I would love to see more integration of other children into that, so where the kids can, we need to groom our kids that are getting older to accept and make a new population to where, hey, we do accept individuals with special needs in our community.
They are so sweet and so lovable, and you get to see real big aha moments, not just gradual, not just the steady learning that typical kids do. I mean, you get to see I just did this. I just made this toy pop up. And then do it again and again and again. And you can actually, I feel like you can see it oftentimes a lot more than you can in typical kids. And it's so much bigger of a milestone and an achievement for them than the typical child.
Usually when we meet them, they have known for a few years. But in my experience in the past, you're going to have to let them realize your child's been, let's say your child's been diagnosed with autism. Your child's been diagnosed with autism. That doesn't mean they're just like all the other children with autism. You meet one child with autism, you've met one child with autism. So basically, they need to, one thing we encourage them not to do is to get on the internet. Do not surf, do not get on the internet, because they will get so many horror stories.
Keep things person-centered. Keep things based around the individual. Again, sensitivity is honestly one of the biggest things. Again, knowing what that individual's likes, needs, wants are, how they actually interact in a certain environment is going to help you later on down the line. You know, if they go into an assembly in the gymnasium, you know, the gymnasium is very loud, lots of crowds, that might set them off. They might start having behaviors. Learn that child, know that child. Don't just stick them in there. And again, like she said, go ahead and stick them in options or, you know, in school suspension because of their behaviors. So sensitivity in the school system is a huge thing, and knowing and being person-centered, which granted, you have IEPs in the school system, they are supposed to be person-centered. Those goals, those academic goals, those socialization goals, a lot of times are. But you have to get into more of a mindset on what that individual is like personally, on a more personal level, I think, to be able to enhance their abilities more. And that's one thing I think that the school does lack a lot of.
And it's not so much because you need help in teaching them, but you need the support of everybody, because it is emotionally draining sometimes. It is emotionally exhausting trying to figure out which path works and which, you know, because it's difficult, especially if the special needs child has language barriers, and they communicate in a different way. Trying to teach everybody in that family. I couldn't tell you how many people go, Kelly, can you translate this, because I don't know what she's saying. Just listen. Just stop and listen. You'll understand, you know. But it does. It takes everybody to learn and to be willing to learn how to talk to a child and interact with a child who does things just a little bit different than everybody else. So yeah, it takes a country.
Oftentimes, for me, it was not having support outside of my classroom and my network of teachers that I collaborated with. I didn't feel like a lot of people understood what I guess they understood what we were doing, but didn't, I don't know if they didn't appreciate maybe they appreciated what we were doing, but didn't necessarily understand what or why or how we were doing what we were doing.
It's all a learning process as far as they need to start out with something and slowly wean them from having to have that person help them constantly, because they're going to need to be independent at some point. And some can and some can't. And parents need to be prepared for, will my child be independent at this age?
God made her the way that she is, and who am I to question that? You know, he apparently has given her to me and my family for a reason. And if I didn't have my faith in God, that he's going to get me through and he's going to keep her protected, then I would have nothing. I'd be scared every step that she took. You know, but you got to have faith that, you know, he gave her to me, so apparently he must, you know, think that she's going to be all right, and so I'm good with that, you know.
Your child is still your child. Just because they have a developmental disability or just a disability doesn't mean that they're not going to love you and they're not as lovable. I mean, they're a child, period. I would look into resources, find out if there's support groups, talk to doctors, any types of agencies that may have resources. Doctors' offices have a lot. Children's developmental services agencies are able to link you up with people. Some school systems, and just look for, like if it's autism, look for Autism Society or whatever it may be.
The biggest issue that we seem to see that the school doesn't understand is a child's sensitivity to everything. With school systems, when we go in and talk with them during IEPs, we can give so many examples of, this is what's setting this child off in class. This is what's an example. A teacher wears so much perfume during the day. That is very sensitive to an individual who has special needs, especially a child with autism. That child is going to focus on that smell all day long. If the janitor cleaned the room the night before and used a lot of astringent or bleach, that's going to ruin a child all day long. But the school systems don't seem to understand. They're like, oh, no, that's not going to happen. But I'm telling you, we've seen it here with our kids, just the slightest things.
If I could talk to every parent in the world with a child who is normal, who doesn't have special needs, is teach your children to respect those who are a little bit different than you are. I think that's the only thing that I'm most worried about with Brianna, is because we do it with my older niece. You know, we've kind of had a talk with her. You know, and Brianna's a little bit different than you. She learns things a little bit differently. We've never once said, well, Brianna can't do or she can't do this. It's always, you're going to have to, you know, you're going to have to be the one to understand where she's coming from. And I just wish that every parent who has a child without special needs would teach their children that just because they're different, they're still okay, you know? And we help them and we nurture them and we, you know, give them just a little bit more, you know, not be like, oh, well, you know, and because that's the younger people is the next generation, and it's just going to get worse and worse if people don't just stop and go, hey, just a little sincerity.
In all honesty, with an IEP, know, number one, that you can invite whoever it is that you want to invite to an IEP meeting. A lot of times schools will give you the bare minimum. You know, the special education teacher is going to be there. Normally you're going to have a regular education teacher there. And I don't want to say that the schools bully you into things, but know that if you have another support group or someone from a support group, or if you are in the North Carolina CAP program where you have a qualified professional that works one-on-one with your child, invite them to the meeting. They can be a huge advocate for you. in, you know, dealing with the sensitivity issues and things like that. We have gone to several of those meetings and helped out several times, whereas a lot of parents, you know, if they're brand new to a program or if their child's just been diagnosed and they're going for an IFSP or an IEP, they don't really know what's going on. So anyone that you know of that can advocate for you, you want to invite, you want them there on your side. I mean, again, it's a team meeting. Everyone's there to help everyone out. But if you're going to try to get a one-on-one for the school system, make sure that you have several people, you know, with you that have worked with your child and know your child as well as you do, if not, you know, better than the school system.
The younger they are, they're oblivious. They haven't been taught that she's different than me. They haven't been taught that. They just know that she's fun to hang out with, you know, or she can do this or she can do that. As they get older and kids are more receptive to other people and what they say and how they look, then they start to learn, oh, well, maybe there is something different about that kid, you know. But the younger they are just as, they will play and they will be receptive and they know no different. It's the older people, it's the adults and teenagers that teach the younger kids. And that's where it's got to stop. That's why I said that the adults and teenagers need to teach the kids nothing different. You play with these people because they're just like you and me. Whether you're black, yellow, purple, green, you know, you have one eye, one arm, you can read a 500-word, you know, piece of paper or 3 words off a piece of paper. You're just like anybody else. And it's a message of love and compassion.
There's several different things, and now Greenville Parks and Rec has actually opened up their summer camps to all individuals, special needs or non-special needs as well. So my biggest thing would be get them involved as much as you possibly can and get them socialized as much as you can.
The Specialized Recreation Supervisor for Greenville Recreation and Parks Department. I'm also the local coordinator for Special Olympics Pitt County. What I usually do is just plan different events for individuals with developmental disabilities. Our big thing is Special Olympics, but we do offer other things. A lot of parents come to me, or caregivers, and just say, hey, how can I be involved? And what they need to do, we just have things year-round, because Special Olympics is offered year-round. But sprinkled in that, we do have specialized recreation programs. We have a calendar that we create usually in the summertime, because we use ECU and Pitt Community College students as volunteers, so we kind of base our stuff on their schedule as far as the semesters. So we kind of break our events up in semesters, the fall and the spring. We don't have a lot of stuff going on in the summertime. But with that being said, we have several different sports through Special Olympics. We have cheerleading, basketball, bowling, and with the basketball we have basketball skills, 5-on-5 team, and a 3-on-3 team. We have roller skating. We have soccer. We actually started our soccer skills program this past fall, golf, and a couple more programs, aquatics program. Those are our bigger programs that we offered. But, you know, some people don't like the competition side of things. That's fine. That's why we have recreation. That's what I'm in the field for. We also have our Exceptional Community Baseball League, which is called ECBL for short. And they have fall ball as well as in the spring. But the programs is a little bit bigger in the spring that we have to offer. We have social events because, again, people may not be as athletic as they want to be. We have parties 3 times a year, usually around the holidays. We have one for costume party around Halloween. We have one a holiday party, which is for Christmas. And then also, too, we have a Valentine's Day dance. And those are held at the same location at CMX Middle School. We have a DJ who come out and cater food. That's a popular event because that's space for anybody of any age to come out, young and old, just to have a good time, just kind of chill, see different friends and stuff like that. It's more of a social setting. That's really popular with our volunteers because what we tell our volunteers when we try to recruit them, say, hey, these athletes, participants are just like anybody else. They just process things a little bit differently. So don't think you have to go in there and talk to them as if they're deaf, so you don't have to speak loud, or dumb it down for them, which pretty much means talk to them like they're a child when they're really adult. Try to talk to them on the age appropriate level, and then once you talk to them, you kind of get a conversation going, and then you realize what level, what kind of words you can and cannot use. You know, sometimes they may not be able to process the big words kind of bring it down a little bit more to their level and just talk to them.
If they're into, let's say, animals, well, then, let's get them started in the Humane Society. Let's let them go do some volunteer hours over there. Then they can grow from that. If they like gardening, get them in a greenhouse. Do all kinds. I mean, we know that a lot of these kids will not be CEOs of big companies, understandably. But at the same time, let's build on what their strongest suit is so that they can feel successful as they become independent.
For additional information, please visit www.darcnc.org.